butterflies floating around on my trees. Still going.
Today is October 23rd, 2023. My name is Karen Neurohr. I'm a professor in the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program at the Oklahoma State University Library. Today I'm at a place called Insect Adventure here on the OSU campus. And with me today is Dr. Andrine Shufran, whose title is Associate Extension Specialist for Oklahoma State University's Department of Entomology and Plant Pathology, and Extension Specialist and Director of Insect Adventure for OSU Extension. Did I get that right?
I am the bug lady.
Okay.
Kind of how it goes. That's a lot easier. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm an extension, state extension specialist, and then I run the Insect Adventure.
Okay. Thank you for participating in this oral history interview with us today.
My pleasure.
So we're here today to talk about Grandparent University, an initiative that was planned by the OSU Alumni Association in 2002 and launched in 2003. This year marks the 21st anniversary year for Grandparent University, and Grandparent University is often shortened to GPU, so I may slip and call it that sometime during this interview.
I do too.
Before we begin talking about GPU, please tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, let's see, I've been in Stillwater now this is my 20th year, so I'm pretty close. And I came here working on my PhD with the addendum that I could run the insect zoo. And that grew and grew and grew, and now that's what I do all the time. I married another entomologist. I have an entomologist who is a sister and an entomologist for a father. So it's not for everybody, entomology is, but it's certainly for me. And I don't have any children, and people always ask if I have bugs at home. And I say, no, I don't keep any bugs at home because we have so many here. And I have a dog, a cat, and a husband, which are plenty to oversee at home without having to bring more bugs. I was going to say it's my 20th year, but it feels like it just started yesterday. We still have a lot of fun every day, and there's never a bad presentation, and every group of people is so dynamic. I feel incredibly blessed and fortunate to have a job that I love and that's fun, and I'm still doing it, so somebody's okay with that, and that each day is a different experience. And I feel so lucky that after 20 years, I still love coming to work and talking to people, and you never know what question they're going to ask, and kids are so much smarter than we are in so many ways, and it's fun to interact with all of their kind of clean minds. So yeah, but I've been into bugs all my life, and it's never gotten old. They're still a lot of fun.
So is this the only insect adventure place in Oklahoma?
Yes, so we are Oklahoma's only live bug petting zoo. There are other, what you would call insect zoos, not in Oklahoma, but around the United States. Mm-hmm. Ours is very special because most institutions, whether it's a university or something like the, Audubon Society, where they have their big museums, and a lot of it might be hands-on there, those institutions almost never travel. And while we have a small facility here, we do presentations, we travel twice as much as we do presentations here. So state fairs and county fairs and birthday parties and Girl Scout club meetings and 4-H and FFA and just about everything you can imagine. And so rather than coming to a place that's sterile and looking through a glass at something, ours is something that can come into a school or a classroom, and the kids can sit down, and we handle the bugs, and they get a chance to really interact, and it's an entirely different experience than getting on a bus and going to visit a place. And I think it makes a greater impact, and that it's just, you move the glass away and the kids have a different time, and their little brains go firing all the time. So yes, we're the only thing like this in Oklahoma, but we're also pretty rare in the world of entomology to go and travel into the different places we go, which is a lot of places.
Yeah, well, this is such a unique place. So tell me about the collections you have here. I see that you have some things that are mounted in cases, and then you have some live insects here.
Yep. So I came here in 2003, and the facility was here. It's always been an insectary. It's always been a place where faculty raised insects for their experiments and their research and that sort of thing. But it's old. It was built in 1943, and it had fallen into disuse, but the department head was really interested in revitalizing that outreach component for the department. And so they hired me. I came. There was nothing here. We spent a couple of years as graduate students. I had several graduate student friends that were all really into education and outreach, and we got a little bit of money, and we revamped the place to be an educational center, but still had a place to rear the insects, and started doing presentations. And then before too long, we were doing presentations on the road. And then about 2005, the department had then put together a pack of money, I guess, a gift from several places put together. And we purchased a very large pinned insect collection. And it wasn't a collection that should have gone into a museum or anything, because it wasn't curated. It didn't have labels. So there's no scientific value on an insect that doesn't tell you where it came from and what time of year it was collected and that sort of thing. They were just, really nicely displayed, but no labels. And so we drove to New York, and we flew to New York, picked up a van, loaded it up with 12,000 different dead insects, carefully drove them back, unpacked them, and then started using them in every way that you can imagine. We have big displays in the state of Oklahoma made out of butterflies and all sorts of things, but then we have a lot of nice small boxes of pinned insects that are really big and really interesting and come from really cool places, and we can take those into classrooms. We have about like 300 of those, and then we let students use them. We've let photographers use them. The insects in the big photographs were from the OSU collection, and then he made this special arrangement of photographs where they're all stacked together, and then you can look at something really small, really big, and donated some of those back to us. And so we also, aside from the dead stuff, which is very cool and very interesting, but it doesn't move. And so we also, anywhere from 30 to 80 different species of living arthropods that we keep. And sometimes we're heavy on cockroaches. We've had as many as 13 species of cockroaches that we kept at one time. And we've had as many as 10 different types of walking sticks. Beetles and tarantulas. We must have a couple hundred tarantulas in the building right now. And beetles and weird arachnids and millipedes and centipedes and all sorts of different things that are living that kids can really interact with. And the things that we keep alive are things that are 100% safe. Nothing can hurt anybody, of course, since we work with pre-K all the way to people that are in special care homes and that sort of thing. You don't want anybody to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that's safe. It's something that's the largest of its kind that we can possibly find, and then things that are relatively easy to keep. We don't want to keep something that's really difficult, because then you don't want to show it or hand it to somebody. It's hard enough to get my students to hand over things to people they don't know as it is. You know, my students take care of these animals and nurture them and feed them and watch out for them, and so it's very hard sometimes to hand over an animal that you care about. Mm-hmm. We don't let them name the animals, so there's no Georges, there's no Marthas, but that makes it easier for the students to not get too attached, because if you have entomology students working with live insects, they get pretty attached pretty fast. It's a great place to work if you're interested in entomology as a student, because you get hands-on more than you would any other place. So they're excited.
How many students typically do you have? 3
half-time.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got 3 students that try to work 20 hours a week, and most of the care is divided up. We have 1 student who cares for all of the herbivorous things, and then 1 student who cares for all of the different spiders and scorpions and centipedes, all the meat-eating type things, and then the walking sticks require a student all of their own. Because there's so much work and they're so numerous. A single cage of walking sticks might have 400 or 500 individuals. That takes a long time to switch out food and clean cages, compared to throwing in some crickets and moving along to the next tarantula right away. So, but I've never had anything but great students. They're just really passionate and excited to get to work in their field while they're still in school and work with the public.
Do you teach as well?
Not really. We have an internship that we do every spring, and we select 5 students, and it's referred to as the teaching and outreach internship. So they get paid, but they work really hard, and they get a lot of hands-on experiences with teaching, and then with extension, which is what I do with the public. And so they go to different teachers, and they compare and contrast different teaching styles. They have to create from scratch, from their own ideas and interests, they have to create an activity for 3rd graders. And then we go to this big insect expo where there's about 1,000 to 1,200 kids in a 4-hour block of time. And they have to run that booth and try and see how it works, and then try and correct everything. And we've got about 50 of those now. So we probably have enough to put together a book, speaking of libraries, and offer hands-on activities showing all sorts of different things besides just entomological topics, but math and reading and poetry. There's a lot of really neat insect poetry. And so it's just a good chance for them to sort of get outside the science side of things and see how difficult it really is to teach people and to work with the public who, as entomologists, we have a terrible joke, and it's not because we don't love people, it's just because we see it over and over again, that people who aren't entomologists think they know a lot about entomology. And unfortunately, everything that they think they know is wrong. There are these huge misconceptions about what to be scared of and what not to be scared of, and what really is deadly and what isn't deadly. And it's never what everybody thinks, because they get a lot of entomological information off of Facebook and the internet, that sort of thing. And so it's fun when students go in to the classroom or work with a group at a state fair, and they come back and they have these big eyes after a couple of hours, and they say, nobody has any idea about my science. Nobody knows anything about my science. I'm like, yep, you've been interested your whole life. You've picked up all sorts of information. You're surrounded by students and faculty, and they all love it. And everybody else, there's maybe 3 bugs. There's a cockroach, there's a honeybee, and there's a spider. And that's all they interact with out of the 20 million different species of bugs that are out there. That's what people think of entomology. And so it's all very negative. There's not the positive side. And that's what we do. We try and make the positive spin and watch people's minds change and watch their enthusiasm grow. I see, moms and dads do it, and I see little kids do it too. But it's a neat experience to share what you love with somebody and then see that light come on a little bit. And the students are really, really good at that. They need somewhere for their passion to outlet, and so outreach is a good place for that.
Mm-hmm. Great. And you said your father was an entomologist?
Yes. So my dad was a research entomologist, especially on cotton pests. So I learned about the research side of things, and I knew I didn't want to do the research side of things. I'm much too people-oriented and extrovert talker kind of thing. But I learned from him that we never, don't touch that, or, no one ever told us to be scared. We were always interested. Kids are always interested in bugs and rocks. They're just, no way around it. They always have rocks in their pockets, and they've always got bugs in the other one. My sister became an entomologist also, and then I was named after an entomologist, and it's just been something for me that's almost second nature. And it was neat growing up when I finally made that decision to see my dad change from thinking, oh my God, my kids are all just, bunch of crazy kids. Like you always think, your teenagers, they're never going to make it. And then to switch over and become an award-winning entomologist. I'm not bragging, but I've won several awards. And it made my dad so proud to have shared that with us and then see us embrace it. And then we could talk about it all, go to the restaurant and talk about maggots and not even realize that the people next to you are all staring at you saying, oh my God, are they talking about maggots? I think they're talking about maggots. But if that's what you talk about at home all the time, you don't realize that it can be pretty disturbing for other people if you talk about maggots at the dinner table at the restaurant. So, yeah. But it's fun to have that in the family. I'm married to a wonderful, incredible, award-winning entomologist, and I'm surrounded by students. And I think that's one of the things I always want people to know about entomology is that there's so much to it. Well, what people say, well, what in the world can you possibly do with a degree in entomology? It's the largest group of animals on Earth. There's 20 million species of bugs. There's 10,000 different kinds of birds. I mean, that's a big scale difference. And they affect our lives in countless ways that people don't even realize. And so I could spend 100 lifetimes learning a new bug every day. And in 100 lifetimes, I still wouldn't know even a small percentage of them. And we're learning new bugs all the time and appreciating the ones that we have in a different way and using venom as new pharmaceuticals. And there's so much going on that it's never boring. And there's always a new aspect and a new angle. And certainly being raised by one and married to one, if it doesn't get boring, there's something really special about that. It's this unlimited field of interest. Yeah.
Who were you named after?
So there was a woman she was in Norway, in is that right? Norway. Yeah, the name is Andrine is Norwegian. And I just can't remember what the university was, but she was the department head of entomology, and my father, because of the research that he did, traveled a lot and interacted with a lot of international folks who went to Yugoslavia will know what that is because there isn't a Yugoslavia anymore. But he went to China, and then when he went to Norway, he met this woman, and she was super smart and and really sharp. And then my mother thought the name Andrine was very beautiful, and so it wasn't until I was named, and much later, and actually becoming an entomologist, that I found out that there's also a family of bees called Andrinidae. And so the students all think I was named after the family of bees because my dad's an entomologist. But it was actually just kind of a weird circumstance that her name happened to be the name of a bee family also. So
Okay, that's a nice story.
it's another, I never really had a chance. I was always going to be an entomologist. I just didn't know it.
Okay, well, thank you for this background.
Sure.
It's been great. So now we'll move on into Grandparent University, and it was launched in 2003, so that was shortly before you came, or do you think you were involved in the first one?
I know for a fact I wasn't the very first, but we started the second year.
Okay.
So we've been doing it for 20 years. And I remember there were 7, 8, there were not very many majors. And OSU was like the first people, like the first university that invented Grandparent University. Isn't that true? Oh, that's...
Wisconsin had one before us.
Okay.
I think some of our people went and looked at their program and saw how they did it. We think we might have been the second one.
Yeah.
And there are more now.
Well, what is that, like those urban legends build?
Yes,
Well,
yes.
we always talk about how we were the first one and how small it was, and now there's like somewhere like 30 different majors that you can, that they've offered or that you can take.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they always talk about adding a third week because there's just such a great demand and it's such an experience. And yeah, so I started doing it as a graduate student working on my PhD. So I started in 2003, 2004, but it was the second year. It wasn't the first year. And then my department heard about it and they were like, oh yeah, you need to do that.
Okay, so they heard about it and encouraged you?
Yep. Encouraged is a very generous word, but yes, they're like, okay, you're going to be in the lab and you're going to do this. And the first year we're going to have some people that are going to show up and help. And it all worked out fine. They never showed up a second year to help. So I've just been doing it ever since, with occasionally a graduate student will help out, but it's kind of my thing. I love doing it. It's my favorite thing to do all year because the relationship between a grandparent and a grandchild when they're in a learning, doing kind of public situation is so different from a parent and child learning situation where there's, we got just kind of some chips on some shoulders and we're trying to get this kid to learn, but grandparents, they're kind of a step removed from all that. They're a little more laid back. And so kids are a little more laid back. And so watching them interact, it's just, it's so much more fun than it is just a lot of pressure and the grandparents want to learn and the kids want to learn, and it's got to be great for them too, to have an experience without the parent in the middle, where they get to see the child be a real person, separate, see how that child acts and reacts and learn about them that way. Because often it's very hard when you're an aunt or a grandparent to know the child as a person separate from the family unit with the parents in charge. And so I just love to watch the grandparents and the kids interact, and everybody just wants to have fun. Everybody in entomology is perfect for that. So run around and go outside. It's great.
So take me back to your first experience. They gave you some fundamentals about what to expect.
Oh, did they?
Well, it sounded like they did, maybe.
Oh, so I was an undergrad. No, I was never an undergrad. I was a graduate student here, and so my department head had an idea about, like, this is what we should teach the people over these 2 days, and here's what the big part of the major should be, and so we tried some things the first couple of years, like more organized sort of things, like a bug bowl where we had like a college bowl competition. We had this team versus this team and competing on what you remembered from the day before and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't keep that up terribly long. There's a reason, but I didn't keep that up terribly long because I didn't think it was so important to drill in entomological terms or, how the life cycle works, as much as it was to do the insect petting zoo, so that they had a good 3-hour block of time to put their hands on animals and ask questions, and just that interaction with no stress or pressure. And so a lot of the learning about the bugs, handout, fill this out, that all kind of fell by the roadside. And then the second day of Grandparent University also used to be trying to learn how to pin and how to collect insects properly, and how to make a kill jar, and so you're just kind of running along at high speed. And again, some people are learning at this speed and other people feel a little left behind. And so we just kind of scratched all of that. And in the morning, first thing on the second day, we go outside with the nets. And the grandparent and the child work as a team to collect bugs and then bring everything back in. Everybody gets to kind of share. All you have to do is run the sweeping net through the grass for 5 minutes, and you have a Ziploc baggie full of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bugs. And each bag is different because a kid may go in a different place. And so one kid gets the tortoise beetle and the other kid's never seen one. And this guy got a little praying mantis baby, and everybody wants to see that. And so it was much more rewarding for them and kind of fun and exciting for me, rather than trying to drill stuff in. And nobody wants to just sit and be lectured to. And so I think the reason our particular major is looked upon very positively is because we don't do that. That we have hands-on, and we do the insect petting zoo, and we do grasshopper dissections, so they get to tear this grasshopper apart into pieces and find the eggs, but there's no like right or wrong, and you're not trying to learn for a competition. And then the second day, it's all, again, just run outside, look at stuff. We do maggot painting, we do termite NASCAR, things that are where you see the insect doing something and the kids are active with their grandparent, not necessarily in competition. After a couple of years, that's pretty much what we do. And now it just kind of, which makes it certainly fantastically easy for me, because once I've done something a couple of times, it becomes second nature. You get a little spiel, and then you walk outside. Our building is located, kind of off campus on its own. We have acres and acres and acres, more than 100 acres around us to go collect bugs. And so they just get to run off and get sweaty and look at bugs, and then the grandparents always come up to me afterwards and they say things like, "My gosh, they just took to it so fast. So and so is so good at this, and I never saw my granddaughter be so interested in learning about spiders. I didn't know she knew anything about spiders." And so they get to know a little bit more about each other. And that's really probably what the whole idea of Grandparent University is, get the parents out of the way and let the grandparents learn their kids. Yes, we're showing off OSU and their alumni, and so they're coming back and they're seeing what the university has changed and that sort of thing, but they're also getting that opportunity to learn the child learns the grandparent, and then they love OSU and they come back. It's sort of a no-brainer, kind of. It works on every level. I think for everybody who's involved, it really works.
Have you seen changes over the years in how the Alumni Association coordinates the program?
Oh, that's a very good question. I know that from my experience, it seems like after the first couple of years, it just became such a huge smash. And there were so many people, hundreds of people, that wanted to sign up and get involved. And so I know that after a couple of years became a really hard thing for the alumni institution, the alumni center, to try and deal with, because they could probably offer 4 or 5 weeks, but that they would get nothing else done for the rest of the year, because it's a lot of work on their end, and those folks were really hard to make the grandparents feel welcome, and the kids do something exciting, and they're up all night. And so I think there's a lot of things that got added on as it went past year 3 or 4 or 5, simply because they had to institute a lottery. Like, how are we going to select who gets to attend out of that? And getting having to chase people like me down when they haven't filled out all their paperwork. Like, are you going to offer this again? We really like your major. Like, oh, I just forgot. Let me get it. I'll do it right now. And so there's a lot. There's just, when you have 20 majors instead of 7, that's a lot more work. And making sure everybody has what they need and things are going smoothly. And the buses, once people started involving the whole bus thing and people didn't walk across campus anymore, it got very logistical nightmare kind of thing, because the buses can't go some places, and so it's too hot in the summer, you have to ride the buses. And then that was just another logistical thing. So I think it's gotten a lot more complex for the GPU people, the staff, the alumni center. When you add the numbers and you add the demand, it got a lot more complicated. It felt like in the first few years it was very laid back. That it was still kind of easy for them. Now it's a lot of hard work for a lot of months to put it all together and stay happy. You have to find the right people to be in charge of all of that, because you're getting calls in the middle of the night, and you're getting calls right in the middle of something else. That I think of Melissa, and just how she just never broke stride. Like, she just always was on top of everything, and beaming and happy, and whoever's in charge at that time makes it a fun experience for everybody. And she was great at that, and making everybody feel happy. You'd think after 2 full days, 3 full days of just chaos, that you'd feel like, oh, I don't want to do that again next year. But they make it fun, and they highlight the fun. And so by the time next year rolls around, it's all like, oh, good, here we go again. You don't get pushed away from it. We do a lot of volunteer stuff here, and it's hard sometimes, the second or third year, to get people to give their time when they know it's going to be all consuming and eat into their summers or plans or research or whatever. And obviously now there's so many majors, they haven't lost a lot of people along the way, and that's a good sign. If people don't do something year after year and then decide, I'm just not going to do it anymore. the people in charge make it fun to come back and redo it again.
So do you offer this for both sessions?
Yeah, I just want as many people as possible to possibly experience entomology. And for a while, so I guess when they started doing the second week, when GPU started moving towards doing a whole second week, there was sort of the aim of, well, some people have already taken entomology, so maybe the second week you could offer something with a different name. Like ours is Bugs in Action and then Adventures in Insects. And they were kind of different. But that didn't work very well with the lottery kind of thing. And certainly for anybody else who's not an entomologist, you come back after a year or two and getting some of the basics and doing the insect petting zoo again, that's not a problem. And if you've got somebody who's really into it, they have no problem with seeing all that again anyway. So after the first couple of years where there were 2 sessions and I was trying really hard to make them different, I kind of just, after a while, have gone back to doing the same thing for 2 separate weeks. And I could easily do it for 5 weeks. I am one of those people that if they want to do it for 5 weeks, we will be there for 5 weeks and do GPU as many times as possible. But my job full time is to be an entomology outreach specialist. So it's not taking away from something else. Where I see the folks that are in chemistry and broadcast and that sort of thing, they have other things they probably want to do. They don't have somebody who's an extension specialist. So they're giving up their class times or research or that sort of thing. And they may not want to do it for 5 weeks, but we'd be up for it at any time. It's such a neat experience.
Do you recall, has there always been a small stipend for faculty?
Yes, I think there was. And if you're a graduate student and you're being asked to do something like this, that's a nice touch. And if you are somebody where you would rather be, well, maybe not rather, but you have other obligations in addition to Grandparent University, like research or summer courses or something, then that might be a little bit extra of a pull to go ahead and have you devote that time. $150, $200 is not a make or break thing, but it's a nice little bit extra to make it easier to go ahead and devote that time. It's also a nice time to get a couple of extra $100, in the middle of the summer when you might be traveling, or something around the insect adventure that we might want to buy. It's nice to have that little money come in and think, oh, well, that's great, we'll do that. And I don't even spend the Grandparent University folks also give $150 or so towards supplies and those sort of things, which that's great. And we've just finally, that's kind of, we just use the stuff that we have and don't really bother with like ordering anything special. It's become more and more just about that experience for both the grandparents and the kids, and then it's just fun for me rather than they need to go home with this and print this off and it's about the money on my end. It's just getting to be a part of something that's so unique and so enjoyable for everybody, and watching that happen with people.
You mentioned that the early participation was maybe a directive that came from the administration.
Yeah, certainly from my
So-
department.
So
Yeah.
do you feel like it's valued by the department?
Yes. I can only speak from my personal entomology department experience, but it is extremely valued. And the first day of Grandparent University, when they come over to start their major, our department head always comes and introduces himself, and they introduce me, and they talk a little bit about, oh, you're going to have so much fun, and we've done this for 20 years, and that has always been a part of what we do. And I think it's a neat experience. I mean, the kids kind of feel like, oh, it's a department head, but the grandparents kind of feel that way too. It's like this person who's super busy is taking a little bit of time out of their day to come over and say hi and promote this and say thank you. We always say, thank you so much for participating in Grandparent University, just because it's OSU, but thank you for choosing entomology. You're really going to have a great time. And we do have a lot of repeat offenders over the years.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I have grandmothers and grandfathers who, as they go down their 7 or 8 grandkids, they'll always try and get the kid to do entomology because they think it's interesting. And even when it's a child who's like, oh, I really wanted to be in architecture or something, and of course the aviation thing goes overnight, like there's not that many people, they'll go ahead and encourage their grandkids to take this because they knew it was fun and the grandparents liked the experience. And so I may see a grandparent or a team of grandparents for 5, 6, 7 years in a row before they run out of grandkids. And they always tell me, this is my last year, I'm about to run out of grandkids. I don't know, well, they're all going to be 14 now and won't be able to come see you anymore. I'm like, well, just, you can pick one up somewhere and just bring them along. Just make one up and go to the Boys and Girls Club or something, and then we'll have kids themselves that they really just want to come back and do bugs again.
And they can do that?
Yep, they can sign up for whatever they want to sign up for. And so it's neat to see as that child grows older. And I don't know if this is one of your questions, but we have had people who went through Grandparent University who became entomology majors. So it was not only where else are you going to go in Oklahoma to get an entomology degree, only OSU, but that they loved the entomology as much as OSU, that they chose that as their career. And do I get to tell you my great story now?
Yes.
That was my favorite story. So way back in it's got to be at least 12 years ago. Anyhow, there was a very small boy that came with 2 grandparents. So it was 2 grandparents and 1 child. And he was 7. I think they've changed the age now, but I mean, he was young, he was little. And I thought he was either miserable or just so painfully shy. Come to find out, after a day or 2, he's got a hearing, before they had cochlear implants, that kind of hearing loss. And so he also had a little trouble speaking exactly the same. And he came, and at 8 years old, this kid knew everything there was to know about bugs. His hand shot up whenever I asked a question. It was early enough, we were still doing some of the little competitions with the bug bowl type thing. And he and his 2 grandparents, and they didn't answer a single question, but he went all the way by himself in competition with all the other people in that major to win. So he won Bug Bowl by answering all the questions right, all by himself. And then, because he loved entomology so much, we maintained a relationship. And he got older. He came to volunteer here, and we just assumed all the way along that he was going to be an entomology student. His speech kept getting better and better. He would come volunteer at the state fair as an opportunity to work with people, and come volunteer here. And every couple of years, every year, I would see him, and he'd get taller, and his speech would get better, and he'd have more and more confidence. And his parents were wonderful. And once he turned 18, I thought, well, we'll see him in the department. And we didn't. And I didn't make a big deal about it, but when it was time for this young man to be at OSU in entomology, I was very surprised not to see him. Well, come to find out that he had thought that there was an expectation that he should do something like what his dad had done, that he should be a business major kind of thing. And I don't know where he got that idea, because his parents were so into him being an entomologist. They were so supportive, and who knows what kids pick up on sometimes. And so it was just a year ago that he contacted me directly, called me and said, can I come talk to you about entomology? And I said, of course. How's it been going? Oh, I've been in business. And he came to visit me, come to find out he really was unhappy doing something he didn't love, because then he also wasn't really good at it. He wasn't passionate, he wasn't fun, so his grades weren't where he wanted them to be, and that sort of thing. And I said, well, why aren't you in entomology? He said, well, I think I'm ready. I think I understand now that what my parents have really been saying all along is do what you love, and we'll still support you, and you don't have to make a huge amount of money. Whatever you do when you love it, you'll make enough money to survive, but you'll be happy, and that's a whole lot better. And so last year he came, and he was finally an entomologist. So he was a junior, his third year. So all he has to do now is really take entomology courses. And he's so confident, he's so happy, he's so knowledgeable. He's always been incredibly knowledgeable. But he's joyous, and he's so helpful with all the other students. He wants to, go collecting with them and show them and see what they find. And no one will ever believe that he had a speech impediment, because he's gotten past that. He made himself do the hard stuff when he was young, and now he doesn't have one. But I remember that 8-year-old who was little bitty. He was small for his age, and how much he knew, but how hard it was for him to talk, and how embarrassed and shy he felt. And now, he's finally got it. His parents are happy because he's happy. And he's flourishing in the department, and he's got a ton of friends who do what he does, as opposed to, business people who they don't do what he wants. No one wants to go out and collect centipedes on the weekend. That's all he wants to do. He's really into centipedes right now. But it feels so right to have seen him come all that way and work so hard, and finally he's found his joy. Find your bliss, right? He always had it. He just didn't know that he was as committed to it as he was. That you couldn't change your bliss. You can't change your bliss. Your bliss is what your bliss is. and it's so nice to see him in the right place, with the right people. Because I always knew it. And now he's finally here, and it just makes my own personal existence as an entomologist feel like, hey, okay, that could have been bad, but it worked out really well, and it's nice to do a job that you love, but it's also great if you can have an impact on other people. And seeing him in the building every week, I think, Zach is here. And, oops, probably shouldn't say, oh, Mr. Kid is here, and he was always supposed to be here, and now it's right. Everything is right. And I have the wonderful blessing of undergraduate students on a regular basis say that it was the insect adventure experience that let them know when they were younger that you could have a career in entomology. It's not as beautiful a story of coming around as it is with that young man from Grandparent University, but it's also a wonderful feeling to know that you're impacting people's lives in a way that helps them find their happiness and their confidence and the people that make them feel good about themselves. Mm-hmm. Entomology is one of those things where, well, a lot of times other people don't get it. Like, why are you so excited about spiders, or cockroaches, but once you're part of a department, then you realize there are several people that are like you. Mm-hmm. And it helps you to feel confident and be more sure of yourself and understand that you're not a weirdo and to be happy with yourself. Mm-hmm. And to just do what you love and be lucky enough to call it a career.
Wonderful story.
And every time I see him, I think, thank goodness, he's back. Everything's okay. It's supposed to be. But that's Grandparent University. I think a lot of times there are majors and careers that maybe kids or parents haven't considered or thought of. Mm-hmm. Could be careers. Entomology is kind of like that. I don't think parents see it as a job until they come through something like this and realize, wow, there's just a ton of stuff to do. Mm-hmm. As a career. It's not just a game thing. Is that going to catch? I can close that door.
I'll close it.
Okay. It's time for my students to come to work.
Okay. Do you think I should put a sign on it?
You have to kind of slam it, I'm sorry, or pull, at least pull hard.
Okay.
There you go. Sorry.
That's okay.
No, if that door is closed, they won't come in.
Okay.
They shouldn't be standing around talking anyway. They need to go downstairs and do their work. And if that's still too loud, I can tell them, or you could holler at them and say, we're recording.
I'll just let them know real quick.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Have any of our faculty here contacted you with questions about how to put together a good session for Grandparent University?
There was one gentleman who was in, I'm trying to think, he was in the English department, but it was part of the writing center. Mm-hmm. And he was going to do one on like scientific writing and nature journaling. And he and I sat down and wrote some things out, and I think maybe he went with me. Mm-hmm. The summer before he was going to submit and that sort of thing. But as a general rule, no, it seems like the people that jump in and do a GPU major, they already have some of that they have ready to go, and so they don't come to me and see if they need any help or anything. There's so much available online now too, that even if I had to put together something for chemistry or whatever, I could probably find some activities to do. So it's been a long time since that guy in the English department approached me. I think it has to be something though that is much more amenable to activity. It doesn't take long if it's a major that isn't super enjoyable. It doesn't take long for the word to spread that, like, we really didn't like that last year. A lot of these grandparents know each other from all the years, or maybe they were college roommates or something. You never know. And so if it isn't something that's really fun, I would really be curious if the Grandparent University, the Alumni Center folks, if they then try and jump in and sort of suggest to that person ways that they could improve, or maybe a person who's running a major, if it doesn't get signed up very much and people don't come back, they just kind of blow it off and give it up or whatever. I don't know which way that would go, but we like to think, because people come back and there are a fair number of repeat offenders. And these people are paying a lot of money. I mean, they're definitely shelling it out for this experience, that if we were doing something that didn't go well or they didn't like, they would let somebody know or just talk to me. And certainly I've had people make suggestions or do stuff, but we have always had a lot of people say, I told so-and-so what a great time I had last year, and so you should expect them in your major this year. Or, here we are, we're back for the 7th time, we love repeat offenders. You go right ahead and come back as many times as you want. And that kind of just subtle feedback tells me that what we're doing and how we're doing it is the best way for us to provide this major. People don't want to sit and write or take notes or do anything. I mean, they want to experience what that major is about.
Yes.
If you took aviation and didn't go up in the plane, no one would sign up for it, because it must be gruelingly boring to plot maps or but the whole point is to get to go up in the plane the next day.
Okay, you mentioned the different activities that the kids do. Let's walk through that. So the first session, what activities do you do with them during the first session?
So first session is, what do we call it? We call it Insect Adventures. Oh, you've got it.
This is a description that I found for this year, so I'll set that there.
Cool.
Okay.
So for the first session, we call it Adventures in Insects. And we call it that in particular. Not only is it the insect adventure, but Adventures in Insects begins with A. And so when we do the final graduation, then we're like in the first grade. So you have to wait forever to go all the way to zoology or whatever it is. And that's kind of, so, but that's, over the years we've learned, like, I don't want to wait through all of the graduations. I want my candy bar and I want to go home. And the insects, adventures in insects, we start off at the building. So we don't come out here to the insect adventure building. We start in the entomology department teaching lab. It's this big lab and it's really fun for everybody to be in there. And we do the insect petting zoo for like the first hour and a half. And then that leaves us about an hour to do the dynamite grasshopper dissection. And it's called the dynamite dissection because it looks like you hit the grasshopper with a piece of dynamite by the time you're finished. Because everything's exploded everywhere. And that also lets kids know that there's not a particular way, that if you want to take the scissors and you want to stab your dead grasshopper in the eyeballs to see what happens, that's how we learn, you know, that no one's going to tell you, oh, don't do that, you've done that wrong, you know, that it's about having fun. And some kids are all about it. My goodness, some kids are like, oh my God, we're going to cut stuff up, boys and girls. We're all going to cut stuff. Oh, and they're like, no problem. And then there's a lot of, they start off like this, you know, and after a while, you know, you can't see, oh, somebody over there is really having fun, because they were kind of like giving up a little bit of their inhibitions. And so then eventually they break down. So they pet the bugs. We do just a basic insect petting zoo includes talking about what makes an insect, or what makes a bug on an exoskeleton. And then we touch several different kinds of roly-polies. We have several different kinds of millipedes that they can get out of the box and let them walk on the table and see all the legs and things. We do a millipede, several millipedes, and a centipede, because those get confused a lot, but they're totally different. And we do several arachnids with spiders and scorpions and vinegaroons and harvestmen and ticks. Of course, we have to talk about ticks, even the bad bugs. Then we do insects, walking sticks, beetles, and cockroaches, and different types of defense mechanisms. And then we do the dynamite dissection for the grasshopper. And that wraps up the first day of the first session. On the second day, they don't stay up at the building. They get on a bus and they come out here to the insect adventure facility. And we have tables and chairs kind of set up like you would expect at a camp or something, you know, four chairs around a big table, and enough for each family group. And so they come here, they get settled, leave all their stuff. They get a net and a baggie or three, and then we go outside and we take the trail from here through the back to the botanic gardens. And then, of course, you know, you get the botanic gardens and there's plants and flowers and they don't spray, and it's so exciting. And sometimes grandparents or parents have been to the botanic garden maybe in the past, but I mean, it's a happening thing now, and it's just, it blows everybody away at how fantastic it is. But you get out, you get to walk, kids have their own speed, they're working little teams. It's just a neat experience to watch them do that. We get there, we mess around, and everybody's hot and thirsty, and we come back, look at the bugs. We typically do, for adventures in insects, we do maggot art, which is maggot painting. You take little maggots and drop them into a little dot of color, and they beautiful starburst patterns. And of course, we use orange and black paint so that they make these black and orange gorgeous patterns. And then we do termite NASCAR. where you learn about trail pheromones by using a pen that smells like trail pheromone. And so the termites actually line up, and wherever you draw a racetrack, they'll line up and they'll follow that. So then kids get to spend 40 minutes like moving their pieces of paper together and make giant tracks, and grandparents are always wowed, what can I do? Can I use this pen to like take the termites? And if I draw, will all the termites leave my house? It doesn't quite work like that, but that would be great if it could. And then that's usually about when it wraps up.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be a couple things at the end where we can fit some stuff. They always just want to go right back outside and collect bugs anyway. And for the session 2, it's still the insect adventure. No, it's bugs in action. Mm-hmm. And it's trying to kind of go a little bit away from just the, oh, wow, this is so cool, but talk a little bit more about how insects are used, and how insects can be problematic, and ways that citizen science can intervene, and that people can contribute to citizen science. There's a lost ladybug project, and there's a bark beetle. Everybody's heard, hopefully, about all the damage that bark beetles do and knock off whole horrible forests, and there are ways that you can contribute from home to show the spread of how this bark beetle is ruining all the forests in the United States. And so we still do the insect petting zoo, but then we make bark beetle traps, and we talk about it's not just planting milkweed. We have a little activity where we do with monarchs about showing how the actual migration happens, and how it's not just a single individual, it's a whole series, and it's not just about providing nectar, but they also need a place for the caterpillars to live. And then why are those particular butterflies important? They don't have any economic value, of course, they just feed on weeds, but that a lot of times monarchs and bark beetles and other things can be canaries in the coal mine, that they can be indicators of other things that are going on in the environment. And that gives both kids and the grandparents clarity on an issue that is often kind of murky and misrepresented on the 6 o'clock news. Mm-hmm. Like we talk about monarchs, but it's really hard to kind of, what's really happening? On the second day of the Bugs in Action, we come out to the insect adventure, and we don't do the walk, we just stay around here, and we'll collect bugs and look at things, and they get to mess with the nets, and we have a bunch of different kinds of nets and collection ways. But they're ways that people who are entomologists use those traps to demonstrate, okay, so I'm trying to keep track over a year-long period of time what butterflies are attracted to red plants. And you can set up these experiments and show how you can use insects to talk about changes in environments, and how humans are having effect, and what pesticides do in certain places, and why they're problematic downstream, and that insects are very much a water quality indicator, that a lot of people all over the United States all the time are testing local streams and trying to see where the pollution is coming from and that sort of thing. So we have a little creek just right by our building, And then they go down and they get to seine, and then they kind of look and check out and like, well, what kind of other things would you expect? Well, there's no fish here. Why aren't there any fish? If you don't have a lot of bugs to eat, there's not going to be a lot of fish. But here are the crawdads, and crawdads can take really nasty water, and crawdads are bugs. Oh my gosh, there's something to think about. But it's a chance to also still play and be doing things outdoors, but to think of it more in ways that we use bugs. It's not just, oh wow, but that there's sides to entomology that are very important for other things just besides how cool bugs are, but to help us with climate change and that sort of thing. They can be really valuable tools, and that we're using them for all sorts of strange things like pharmaceuticals now. Bugs are big time pharmaceuticals for curing cancer and diabetes and all sorts of things. So it's a nice angle, and some of that has dropped off in the last couple of years because they haven't. The GPU hasn't been as strict about making sure they were different, and so a bit of it is bled over. But we always just try and do. The first one is more just about how cool bugs are, and then the second one is a little bit more concentrated on the importance and the value and the uses of bugs and different ways you can be an entomologist, more the career sides of things. Yeah.
Grandparent University allows kids ages 7 to 13 to participate. How does that age span work for your class?
And that's another, over the years, things have changed. That in the beginning, we had things where you, during GPU, where you would fill things out, like we talk about stuff. Well, some 7-year-olds really don't have a lot of manual dexterity yet, and so that part was difficult for them, or frustrating, or slowed everybody down, and so I thought that was going to be more of a concern. After a couple of years, we sort of moved away from writing stuff down and having. Those are the spiders being misted. That'll take about 5 seconds. There we go. They're getting their drink for the day. So we moved away from having the writing stuff. We still give them a little packet of things that they can take notes on if they want to, or that the grandparents can write on, pardon me, if they so wish, but try so much more now to make it about exploration and hands-on learning and tactile experiences, and not just sitting, but getting up and doing stuff. And so I think 15 years ago, I would have said that the ages were more of a problem. Certainly in the last 5 years, it's no problem whatsoever. That 7 is fine and 14 is fine too, because they're making more of their own experience, and their grandparent is more involved in helping them out and making it age appropriate. So it's not a problem where it certainly could have been, and I know some of the other majors, there's more of a limit. What I'd like to do, that I really haven't figured out a way to do it yet, is do more than the 20 that we're kind of stuck with. Now I know that the Alumni Center and all the GPU people would have no problem if I could figure out a way to do 40 or 50. They'd sign them all up. The teaching lab in our department only really holds 24 bodies. It's designed to hold 24 bodies, and so that kind of limits us. I can I can keep rein on a pretty large group after 20 years of working with groups. I can keep rein on a pretty large group. Just the building there and the building here aren't designed for bigger than 25. So we limited it at 20, and then we usually stretch it to 24. Because if we set it at 24, then they make us stretch it to 28. We don't have any seating. So it's and because they always, the GPU folks always call and say, oh, can we have just these last two? Can you fit two more in? You know, and of course I say yes. I'm not gonna ever say no, but then they have to like plan a little more and borrow a table from somebody, and it's not a big deal. But I wish we could do a bigger group. It's just unfortunate that our facilities are all limited to that. And that's why I was like, thumbs up and all for it if they wanted to do 3 weeks. I think there was a great deal of no panic that came from the actual GPU alumni center people. It's a lot of work for them, and they love it, but I can imagine how months of having deadlines and taking care of 28 different majors and 500 families, you'd need to rest. And so I'm all for more weeks so that we can get more people through, but I don't know if that'll happen. And I'd love to know the numbers on how many. They probably have them. I just never have asked. If a child and a grandparent go through Grandparent University together, how many of those kids come to OSU? It has to be a high number, but I don't know what that number percentage is. I mean, certainly they may not stay in the same major. It's just information, and information for anybody is always knowledge is power. But it would be interesting to know how many students go through GPU and then become undergraduates.
I believe that they have not been able to track that over all of the years, but they are starting to try to look at those things.
Try and figure that out. Yeah. That's, I mean, 500, 700 names is a lot to keep track of when some of them are 7 and some of them are 14.
And the numbers, with the pandemic, it affected the numbers for the past few years. So I know they offered some virtual type sessions during that COVID year.
Did they really?
So I was going to ask you if the pandemic affected. You know, they didn't have it at all, and then I think the next year they went with kind of a virtual.
Kind of. There was one year where it was like they were off campus. Like they didn't do the dorm things, and everybody didn't really enjoy that very much. You know, they all had to drive their own cars around, and it didn't work out as well. But we didn't do a virtual one. Entomology just doesn't. Just can't. It just isn't. It doesn't transfer very well. It's like chemistry lab. They were doing chemistry labs virtually during the pandemic here, and not during GPU, but regular classes. I'm like, how in the world do you do chemistry lab virtually? And so we're kind of like that. But I hope it bounces back. I mean,
oh, it is. It's climbing again.
Okay.
Of course.
It's affected everybody. The pandemic and just wiped out all sorts of things. I mean, it's really hurt us too to hang on for 3 years with not making any money. Not me, but the insect adventure. It was a scary time, and still slowly feels like we're slowly coming back. People are like, oh yeah, we used to do this thing with bugs at the end of the year. What was that thing called? You know, and teacher overturn in Oklahoma turnover is so high that if a teacher stays, we see them every year. But if that teacher moves or something happens, then the next young person that comes in may not know we exist. And stay on top of that. But I'm good. I'm glad it's recovering. It's such a messy time all around for everything and everybody. It just
So
not cool.
Is this one of the extension programs that typically does generate some income to help sustain the program?
Yes. So the only thing that extension as a state thing, an OSU extension statewide, the only thing that they pay for, and it's not nothing, but is my salary.
Mm-hmm.
So everything else that we do.
Travel.
We do, before pre-pandemic times, we did 600 presentations a year.
Wow.
So it was a big operation.
Mm-hmm.
We're always shoestringing it, always. So if somebody somewhere wants to become the super butterfly person, that'd be great. But we only generate money by doing presentations.
Mm-hmm.
And all that money is used for rearing the animals and student care.
Mm-hmm.
And then my salary is separate, and I'm really the only thing that is assured. And we just have never my department is supportive, and they do give us a little bit of funding for travel and that sort of thing. But we just haven't ever found that magic person who is the Boone Pickens of bugs, because I look forward to the day where somehow, some way, we don't have to think about money. Because if we're charging schools to go in, we do a whole day, we'll do 8, 10, 12 presentations in a day, but that school had the funding to be able to bring us there. Well, wouldn't it be great if somehow we could go into schools and not have it be about who can afford us, mm-hmm. but about who needs it, or who would benefit, a Title I school or a rural school, where they might be great at entomology, but they would never know about it as a career, or that this was the only place you could go to get a degree in entomology. It's only one of 16 entomology departments left in the entire U.S.
Oh.
Where in 1860, when the Civil War ended, there was an entomology department mandated in every state of the Union, of the whole Union. Mm-hmm. And because it's so vital to agriculture and disease, and now we have 16. Mm-hmm. So we're waiting for the day when something big and nasty comes along that destroys cotton, or destroys corn, and all of a sudden there's funding mm-hmm. for every entomology in the state again, and
or it might be the pharmaceutical and health related aspect of it, right?
Where new money might come from, and that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's very hard, because I want everybody to have the chance. Mm-hmm. I go to a lot of schools, and some of them are hardship schools, hard economy, not a lot of education, urban, whatever. At the second grade, you cannot tell the difference between a child that's in a rural school or a child that's in a wealthy school. At that age, they're just in love with the world, and everything they do is science. Asking a question, and then, will somebody tell me the answer? Well, asking questions and finding the answer, that's science. That's all science is. And we make it all scary and mystify it, but first and second graders are born scientists. Like, why, what, how? And it breaks my heart that the schools that have a hard time with math and science and these sort of things, those kids somewhere along the way lose that love of learning. And and seeing how similar they are, that no matter what, first and second grade kids are just fascinated with the world and fun to be around and excited and interested in everything, and to watch that slowly change as they get older and older, and because they don't have those same exposures to interesting, stimulating things, that we kind of lose them to science. We lose them from science, and then we wonder why it's so hard to find good scientists in the United States and all this push of STEM. Well, we've got to do something about educating everybody, not just wealthy kids, but every kid is smart at first and second grade. Something happens along the way. Maybe they don't have a breakfast or they don't have a lunch. And how can you take tests and do stuff if you haven't eaten for a day? It's just, anyway. That's my horse. I don't understand why education isn't the most important thing for all of our kids, because that's really the only thing we can give them, is a good, solid mind. And the rest of it's kind of up to them. But if it's our fault they don't get a good mind, that's wrong. That's just wrong.
Looking back over your years of participation, you shared the really touching story about the boy. What are some other incidents that stand out to you, if it was challenging or funny or anything like that?
I feel like I have 1,000 of them. I'll have to go into my office and get a picture. There was one gentleman. We do really have a lot of repeat offenders, and I really do get to know them after a while. And he was retired. He had originally been a lawyer, I think, very, very well to do, and so he could bring all of his kids through. And the last year that he came through Grandparent University, I didn't really notice. I didn't really pay attention, but they're always taking pictures. He was taking pictures during that whole 2-3 days. Well, I just made the assumption that he was taking pictures of his grandkids, the last grandkids, and he was, but he was also taking pictures of me. And I don't really photograph terribly well because I'm always in motion. And one of the ones where my eyes were always closed and my mouth is always open and my hands are doing this. And a couple of weeks later, he brought this huge assembly of photographs that he'd done. They were wonderful. And there was one photo kind of at the top, and it was me talking, and it was all of those things. I had my mouth open, my eyes closed, my hands are like this, as I'm talking about spiders or something really. And then the bottom half was several black and white photographs, all packaged really pretty, of just my hands and doing this and doing this. And he brought it into the main office, and I've never had anything like that, where it was so personal about what people see that I don't see. That obviously I talk a lot with my hands, and that was what he really noticed and remembered after all of those years, that he wanted to make something of all of that. And it's up in my office, and it's just the coolest reminder of, like, you never see yourself the way other people see you. And it's a great reminder just for me that everything, especially in entomology, it's very important to be age appropriate, to be approachable, for it to not be about using scientific names and Latin terms, and if you have to do that, you need to go back to school and impress yourself, because that's not what it's about. Certainly not as an extension person. It's about making it accessible and about making it fun and about sitting down with the kid and making sure that they're understanding and watching, that they're understanding. We've had lots of crazy things where it was a couple of years ago. We always go outside, we take our nets and we wear our bug spray, because we've talked about ticks and how deadly mosquitoes are. It's not spiders, it's ticks. And and there was this little girl, and she was just precious, and she was kind of glued to my side, because it was like, here's a woman, and she's an entomologist, and I'm not going to let her out of my sight. Like, that's what it's a little tiny thing, 7 or 8 years old. And we're out there netting and stuff. And I said, did you wear your bug spray? And she said, oh, I forgot. And we're halfway to the botanic garden. I'm like, okay, well, if you notice that you have any, ticks, be sure and let me know, and I'll be sure and squash it. So the next half an hour, every minute and a half, she would come up and she'd say, here's one. Here's one. She must have had a tick on her every 2 steps. Here's one. We'd stop and we'd squash it. And we'd go for a while and we'd talk, here's one. And the trail one time, they hadn't mowed it. They usually mow it and they're good, but they had just, the timing was off. And they hadn't mowed it, and so the false carrot, the grasses and stuff along the trail had grown like up in the trail and like shoulder height on me, really tall. But I know where the trail is, so it's not a big deal. We couldn't really see the trail all that well. And this younger kid, he was a couple back behind me. And I was like, okay, everybody stay kind of close. The trail's not really hot, but you'll be able to see me. You just don't get stuck behind. And a couple of steps into the grass, I hear this loud whisper, like a stage whisper kind of sound. Little boy says, oh my gosh, we're lost in the forest. I can't see where we're going. We must be lost in the forest. And again, it's that, wow, that's, to you can't see 2 feet in front of you. It must be really a big trip, obviously. And we were collecting bugs in the ground. Another time, this other kid, nobody could get the antlions. Antlions are in this little pit in the soil. And it's fun to catch them, but it's hard. And here's this 10-year-old, and he goes, no, I got it. Watch this, everybody. I'm going to show you. And he had this, it was a scoop and drag, scoop and spread with his hand. And so he was taking the antlion out of its pit and then spreading it in a way where the sand got spread out so you could spot the animal right away. I never knew that. Mm-hmm. I learned how to catch antlions in an efficient and timely manner that everybody can learn. And it was, I always learn something from a kid every presentation I do. 600 presentations a year, there's going to be one something that happens always that makes me think, never had a question like that, didn't ask it that way. We always do the scorpions. We turn off all the lights and we use the black light because scorpions fluoresce like neon green. And so I passed, the light around, and everybody gets to watch the scorpion glow in the dark. It's really cool. And pass it back up, and this little girl raises her hand. She says, can you please make it do any other colors? Like, I never thought about that. Like, if we could make it do orange, that would be the best. If it could fluoresce bright orange, that would be so cool. But I never thought about it. And just the fun of going out for a couple of days where you have enough time to really get to know the grandparent and the kid. For me, that's a big difference, because I might go into a school and I do a presentation every 45 minutes, nonstop, all the way through. We're not engaged closely one-to-one. I don't know their name or whatever. Go through Grandparent University, they're here for basically a whole day, 4 hours here and 4 hours there. And so I get to joke with them. I get to establish a little bit of a relationship. I get to see who's good at what, and see who wants to learn about something, it's just, you have just that much more time to really get to know your audience and to have them get to know you a little bit more. And that interaction where it's not so rushed and it's just the same bit of information. Every year when I do Grandparent University, by the second day, I feel like they're my kids. So it's like the end of summer camp. We do summer camp, and by the end, I know what they're good at, and I know what they, pardon me, what they like, what they don't like, and I feel like I need to give them a hug and that sort of thing. And same thing with Grandparent University. By the end of that 2 days, I'm giving them a hug at the door, and the grandparents have had a great time, and we go to graduation, and they're all like, "That's our teacher. She's the one with the butterfly wings and the antennae on," and like, just, I don't know, make it an experience, because they do that for me, where I remember them, and I might see them the next year, and they come up in the dining hall and chat, and then the grandparents are always like, "Oh, you have so much fun. This is so different. I never thought this would be cool." I even had a parent once, after several years of Grandparent University. The parent came up on graduation and wanted to let me know that their child was going ahead and becoming a reader because she had decided she wanted to be an entomologist. That's what she thought was cool. And she knew if she was going to be an entomologist, she was going to have to go to college. And that meant she was going to have to learn to read. And so she was learning to read, and they were making it fun by making it entomology books, and kind of working, but they were just so relieved and grateful that they had some way to get her past the negativity of trying to learn to read. Something had happened, I don't know, and I used to see them around the state at places, anything like state fair or something. They'd always show up and be like, "They're all graduating from high school now," and again, those effects that you have on people really become very meaningful. But I just love Grandparent University when you can sit down. We're outside, and they have a bag full of bugs, and everybody wants to know what's that. I have 3 spiders in my bag. Where are there so many spiders in here? Are there this many spiders everywhere? Well, as a matter of fact, there are that many spiders everywhere. And see, now you have no reason to be afraid, because you're surrounded by them all the time. And the hikes, getting to spend that time talking with one kid and then dropping back and talking to another kid, or having to stop and wait, seeing the grandparent and the kid working as a team, trying to get the bugs out of the net and into the kill jar or into the collection bag, and seeing them so intent on something together and being successful. And every bit of it is it's a lot of fun, and it's so rewarding, and I can't imagine why there isn't somebody in every type of department on campus who doesn't think that their science is so fun that they couldn't share it with kids. Well, I'm surprised that there aren't as many majors in GPU as there are majors available to undergraduates on campus, because most stuff can be made pretty cool if you just take the good stuff and don't make it about you teaching them, but about them experiencing your science or your discipline or whatever it is. I wish I have 1,000 stories in my head, but of course they never come when you fish for them. You know, every semester or every session there's always a couple of things that I think are precious. All kids are good kids. We just have to remember that. Mm-hmm. They're all good. They're just all different. You know, they're doing their own thing. And sometimes that seems weird or off or wrong, but if we're all the same, we're not going to get anywhere in the world. Embrace being different. Mm-hmm. And working with kids makes you feel pretty comfortable being anything, whoever you are, you know. Mm-hmm. It's being different is okay.
What should OSU faculty know about teaching for GPU?
Make it fun, and make it not, it's about teaching, but it's not about the teacher. Mm-hmm. That teaching is about learning. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's hard if you've been in a discipline for your entire life and it all seems second nature to you, and you've been an instructor and for undergraduate level courses where you really have to get them to learn this stuff. But Grandparent University, it's about just enjoying being on campus, learning something, not being taught something, but learning something, experiencing something, inquiry-based learning where you're allowed to ask all the questions you want, and there are no dumb questions. There's no dumb questions in science. There's no dumb questions ever. About going ahead and setting your own ego and your own need to be superior aside, and just going ahead and being silly and having fun and moving around and exposing people to what you love in an excited fashion, because then they'll love it too. Showing your enthusiasm, but not having it be about the educator as much as it is about the people getting something educational out of it. They're not going to become entomologists. They're probably not going to become technical writers. But there are ways to make those things fun so that they no longer have a negative or unknown opinion about it. That, wow, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life, but I can see why that's really fascinating. But kids learn differently than undergraduates do. Undergraduates can sit for 45 minutes and have information rain down on them and take a percentage out of it. Kids much more need to see it and touch it and do it and experience it. I can tell you how to pin an insect, or I can tell you how how to use a collecting net. Until you get your hands on a net, it's not going to be any fun. You're not really going to pay attention, and you're not going to actually figure out how to do it correctly until you get out there and you try it. And then everybody's like, I have to collect bugs. As soon as you dump that first net full of bugs into a bag, everybody's into it. Because there are things you don't see. Not everything is butterflies and dragonflies or bees flying around. There's so much stuff just all around you all the time. And once that happens, there's 1,000 questions. And that's what you want young people experiencing your discipline. You want them to have lots of questions. If you're just giving them information, they're not going to ask any questions. You just need to get them out doing stuff and experiencing it, and then the questions come automatically. And don't be upset if it's the 40,000th time you've heard, why isn't that scorpion stinging you? Or, I thought spiders were so deadly. Don't get your information from the internet. But I think any discipline, any major, anything could be turned into a GPU major, into a GPU session. It helps if you've had some experience with kids. I think if you're somebody who hasn't taught younger students in a while, that would be partnering up with somebody who maybe is a teacher, or an actual teacher, and say, here's what I do. How can you help me make it experiential and hands-on? You know, how would you take this and make it into something to do, not a PowerPoint? Oh, and that's the most important thing for any educator anywhere, whether it's Grandparent University or anybody. Get away from PowerPoints. I understand they're convenient. I understand that you can be a lazy instructor when you do a PowerPoint. But that's such a small percentage of information that even undergraduate students get from staring at a PowerPoint if there's no interaction with it. And younger kids especially, that's not learning. Get away from PowerPoints. If you go to a meeting and you're teaching peer-to-peer, try and do it without PowerPoint. It's your research. You know exactly what happened. You don't need words on a page. You just show a picture and then talk about it for a while. Same thing. If you're a chemist, I'm sure the chemistry people are doing all sorts of fun stuff. Breaking rocks and dropping things in acid or making them glow in the dark or anything. You just have to get out of the mindset of having it be Socratic, where someone big and smart is standing and talking down to someone little and grateful and dumb. That at least 9 times out of 10, kids are smarter scientists with more open minds and more free connections between information than we are. Our brains are trained and they're less plastic now. But kids can put all sorts of things together if you give them that opportunity to make mistakes, and as an instructor you say, I don't know, go figure it out, or go try it. That's a great question. You know, let's see what we can do, rather than it being about the educator or the teacher. Good teachers are not teaching Socratic method. They're letting kids explore. They're showing kids they make mistakes. They're saying, I don't know. A lot of times it's hard for professional people to do that, to be challenged. But that's kind of the fun of it too. You know, when a kid asks a question, you have to think about it. that's really exciting for everybody to be open to that. And that's what's really fun about science.
Not the sage on the stage.
No, not the sage on the stage. Nobody learns that way anymore. No one ever did, I guess, but yeah, they can give that back. When you're working with young people, if you can just kind of let them go, they give a lot back. They're so smart being around kids.
Are you aware of any other kids who were in your class that went on to major in entomology later on?
Yes, actually. There was a young lady recently who can be anywhere in the last 5 to 8 years in my brain, I'm afraid. Something about the epidemic, the pandemic made me where I can't tell time anymore. Came up as the semester was starting. And of course, it's very painful for me, but they always say, "Do you remember me?" And I say, "Fill me in. It's only been 20 years now, fill me in." I took Grandparent University from you, and I was the one who did such and such, my grandmother was on crutches that year, and like all sorts of information, and say, I didn't realize that I could be an entomologist, but I always loved bugs, and now I'm here, and I'm so excited, and it's not about me again. They just want to let me know that they're here, and I don't even know a lot of times if she realized that it was the Grandparent University part that was so exciting to me. It was like, okay, we had this great learning opportunity. She bit a hold of she took the apple or the bit in her teeth and she ran with it. And now she's just coming back and saying, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I'm like, yes, I remember you. Even if I don't always, but that kind of thing, for them to remember where it was that they got their interest is cool, where you can search it back to a point and say, well, then I knew it was okay, and I could go ahead and be a crazy bug person. That it doesn't happen as often as I would like it to, but it does happen, both with Grandparent University and occasionally with summer camp. That there'll be a undergraduate who'll come back and say, "Do you remember me?" And I say, "Yeah, fill it in," and we talk about what they've done and where they are now, and even if they aren't in entomology as majors, sometimes I'll have kids stop me and say, "I took your entomology course, when I was such and such age, and it's such a good time. Like, you're an entomologist now?" "No, I'm not. I'm doing something else. But when I saw you, I thought I had to say something because I thought it was a lot of fun." That's always very rewarding. No, they don't all come. I don't know. I know that the reason we have a much larger entomology department now than when I started, it's not all me. I'm not saying that. But when I was starting my PhD here, we had 2 undergraduate entomology majors. 2. And of course the department and the department head and all the faculty and everybody worked really hard to change that. But this last year, we've got 80 undergraduate students. I am not taking credit for it, but my heart likes to tell me that if we didn't have Grandparent University, and we didn't have summer camp, and we didn't have the insect adventure, going into classrooms and just exposing people to, hey, bugs are okay if you want to study them. You're not crazy, you're not gross or whatever. That it would have been harder. it would have taken longer to get to 80 kids than it did. And now we're the second largest entomology department in the United States. Yes, there's only 16, but we're still the second largest.
Second largest.
Yeah,
That's
and we
something.
weren't 20 years ago. There's only 2. That to me sounds like we were about to be shut down.
Yeah.
But the department pulled and brought everybody back, and I think live bugs helps with that. That experiencing something hands-on can help to change and direct you into that. And so I like to think that these bugs help to keep our department strong and brings us the best. Because they're sharp students. We don't have students that fail out of entomology. They might change their major to something else at the end, but they don't fail out. These are sharp kids. I mean, it's a hard science. You have to learn and memorize, and there's a lot to it. And we don't have them just disappear, because we all know them too. Everybody is very, very tight.
So I can assume that you plan to continue participating in Grandparent University.
Definitely. It is, and I try to always remember to tell the Grandparent University attendees on that first day that it is by far my favorite thing that I do every year, because it's not about making people learn anything, and it's that extra extended time that we get together that makes it the most fun thing to do every year. It's the first thing in the summer, you kind of get charged for summer. You see old friends, you learn new things, and it's a great interaction between that grandparent and child thing. I can't ever imagine not doing it. And I know I'm going to be here for at least another 20 years, so I always expect that to be on the docket.
Okay.
It's going to take priority over a lot of things.
Is there anything that I haven't asked that you would like to share?
Boy. Boy, that's always a hard one. If we didn't invent it, we sure as heck perfected it, I think. Like maybe Wisconsin invented it, but when people here got the idea, they really made it special. There's something about, I've been to a handful of universities during my educational career. There is something different about OSU. I can't exactly say what it is. In my department, I say it's because we know all of our students and we care. But if I went to the bursar is always extremely helpful. And if you have to go to HR for something, like they are with you, and nobody is ever short or ugly or anything. And so that sort of caring family quality something that is about OSU is like triple at Grandparent University. That everybody is proud to be associated with OSU, and so there's an innate sort of camaraderie, and we're trying to share with young people, not just us, but the grandparents, our love for this environment, which the more nice people we can generate, the more caring people we can generate. If everybody would just go through OSU, the world would be a better place, because you would understand that it's important to care about other people, and it's important to be proud of the contributions you make and what you do and how your university presents itself. And so I do think that it's very special, extra special. GPU is extra special here because there is such a pride in being from OSU that it takes it up a notch, so that it's just extra well run and extra well participated, and there's that special cowboy-ness of it, that if you are somebody and you can get a child and yourself into it, do it. It's worth the money. It seems like a lot, but it's an experience you can't replicate other places. You and a child doing something together towards learning and having fun, that you should make every effort that you can to grab a grandkid and come to Grandparent University. People do it with their 7 or 8 grandkids for a reason, because it's special and it's unique, and then those kids are more likely to go to college because they already have a place where they feel at home and welcome and comfortable and valued. It is very special and very fun, and those kind of opportunities are very rare, especially for young people, to be on college campus and to be special and involved and special. So do it. Everybody do it.
Do you want to show us
some friends? Yeah.
the friends that you have here?
A sampling of my creatures. So these are the cute story about these guys. It wasn't Grandparent University, but the reason we always keep the Madagascar hissing cockroaches. I had a woman who was a friend of mine, and she used them for like at her hospital, like where bad things had happened to kids, and she gave every kid a hissing cockroach while they were at her hospital. It was more of an emotional hospital, but she found that if kids had a hissing cockroach to talk to, that they would actually share with the Madagascar hissing cockroach. They would share their horror stories. They would share their name, where they might go to this hospital. They wouldn't say a word. They would talk all day long to the Madagascar hissing cockroach. Not only are they just cool because they hiss, especially with no lungs. I mean, if you can hiss with no lungs, it's pretty cool. But that there's something about these little guys that you can tell all your secrets to and get better. They're very cool. And you hanging away, which is kind of what a cockroach does. But this is one of my favorite animals. This is a vinegaroon. You could find it in far west Oklahoma. It's not an exotic Madagascar animal, and it's not a scorpion. Doesn't have a stinger. It doesn't have pincers. It's a bug skunk. A vinegaroon protects itself by manufacturing vinegar inside its body, and that vinegar is 20 times stronger than the vinegar that we use to make dill pickles. So it's 80% vinegar that she sprays out when she gets frightened, and she is just a magnificent animal. The young man that we talked about, who was 8 years old and silent, but knew everything about bugs, and just last year came to the entomology department finally. The first pet pet bug he ever had was a vinegaroon. And of course it was named Vinny, but he he really connected with this animal because it looks big and scary. And so when you pick it up, people get horrified, but it's harmless. And so it's kind of like, look at me, I'm pretty tough and scary. I can handle this dangerous animal. Well, it really isn't dangerous at all. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing to talk about, that, you think it looks scary, but look closer. It doesn't have a stinger. It doesn't have pincers. Mm-hmm. You have to look at these things and learn a little bit before you're afraid. I feel bad disturbing these guys. They're all cleaning their feet. These are millipedes. Totally different from centipedes. These are millipedes. And if you have 1,000 legs, you have to spend a lot of time cleaning them. And so all the millipedes in the box are taking each leg and running it through their mouth to keep them clean and functioning properly. This is going to be horrifying to people, but bugs are cleaner than humans. They do not carry diseases around on their body, or a cockroach is cleaner than a human being. We are dirty bacteria pools, and these guys are spotless, cleaning themselves all the time. And they're cute to watch. Very slow. No teeth. This is the one that I swear, if I had to pick an animal over the past 20 years, if I had to pick an animal that made more people entomology majors at OSU, it would be this animal. This is a type of walking stick. She's not a praying mantis. A lot of folks see a praying mantis. She's not. She's not preying on anything. Whenever we do events or recruitment or state fairs or county fairs, we will bring this animal out and just let it walk around. And at first people don't think it's real. And then they realize that it's moving, and then they want to hold it. And a great deal of the students that are in entomology now will hearken back to a time when they got to see this animal or hold this animal, and that it contributed to the idea that I think I want to be an entomologist. That animal is so weird and cool. I love it. I must be an entomologist. And she's just big and slow, and she eats leaves. She comes all the way from Malaysia. She's called a jungle nymph, but she's the best recruitment tool we have for getting people into entomology. This is the female. Yes, I see you. And then this guy is the male. He didn't look like much, but he has beautiful pink wings. Mm-hmm. He's a bit of a show. She's not so much.
Is he also from Madagascar?
Mm-hmm. He's the same species.
Mm-hmm. So do they breed here?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the egg.
Oh.
This is an egg that she laid a couple of hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. She carries him around for their whole lives together, and he just rides around and is ready to help her make eggs. And we have about 30 other species we could talk about. But that's a whole nother 2 hours.
Good sample there.
Yeah. Some of the good guys. So yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing those and sharing them for our interview.
Well, sure. It's a little different, you know.
Yeah.
It's always interesting. They're always doing something.
Okay, I think it's been a very wonderful interview.
Awesome.
You just touched on the attire that you usually wear at Grandparent University, but I think it does stand out from the other instructors. And
You've heard, huh?
Talk about that just a minute.
You've heard. Yeah, I don't know when I started it, but it must have been right from the beginning. For Grandparent University, there's a graduation at the end, and it's a big deal, and everybody gets their picture and their plaque, or it turns into a certificate, and then they go off the edge and they get a chocolate bar. I was the person about 15 years ago who finally said, you need at least 80 more, because the instructors want one too. You know, when we walk off the stage, they don't give us a candy bar. I don't need a candy bar. So, but they all wear the regalia, all the instructors, all the hosts and stuff. It's all very formal, and that's just not really my style. I'm sure I could get one and stand there, but that's no fun. And so I got a bee hat that goes around, and it has an actual bee that sits on my head. And I started wearing that to graduation. And so after a few years, then the grandparents would say, are you going to wear your bug hat? I've heard about your bug hat. I said, yes, I've got the bug hat. And so I did the bee hat during graduation for a while. And then I had a grasshopper hat, which didn't go over as well. I really liked the bee hat a whole lot better. But the grasshopper was bigger. I thought it was kind of cool. And then the last 4 or 5 years, I got the monarch wings that now you can buy like full length butterfly wings in lots of different species, but orange and black for OSU, and I got antennae, like a little headband with antennae on it, and now I get it on when I get out of my car. So that as I'm walking across campus towards GPU, I've got the antennae and my sunglasses and the wings, and everybody like turns and looks, except for people who have been through my class before. And as soon as they see that, then you can see them break into a smile. They're like, oh, but everybody else is like, you know, like, were we supposed to dress up, or who's this crazy person over here? And so I don't think Grandparent University graduation would be nearly as fun for me if everybody didn't kind of look at me weird when I came in and sat down next to them. And then all the big happy faces from all of the other people that all the other years, not just the students from that year. And then to walk along the hall, you know, down the aisle to go up on stage with the full, and everybody else is their regalia, which is cool. They have butterfly wings. I mean, come on, I'm dressed as a monarch. And get up on stage, and then that makes such a cute picture when the kids get that from the experience. And then, of course, you know, we shake hands, and it just makes for some really cute pictures. It makes it fun for me. And then I get my candy bar on the way out. And as soon as the bees are done, I can go on and do something else. So don't do the Z's. No Z's. But yeah, it's super fun to have a costume. And the regalia is like one kind of costume, but it's more fun to have a bug costume and kind of stand out. And maybe that's advertisement too for next year, like, well, that teacher looks like she might be kind of fun. And I like to think, maybe we are kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Not that I can think of. Of course, in an hour, there'll be something. No.